and that is a professional does not act the way they feel. They act the way they should.
Looking forward to that. Welcome. Welcome to anyone who's new. Welcome to anyone who's been here before and this is not their first annual event. Thank you all for showing up. For anyone who is new, the Black Alumni Network, a bit about us. We're kind of premised, I like to say, on three aspects. That being empowerment, that being uplifting, and also celebrating us, our alumni, and also new graduates. So empowering wise, we're looking to empower our alumni not just in regards to their professional development, but their personal development. We're all members of a society. We all should be getting better and just supporting one another. In regards to upliftment, we have a lot of new grads that you get into the world, you're in this weird place of transitioning, you're not sure how to navigate it. This is a network to find people who are in your industry and to just kind of talk through it and figure out their journeys and how your journey can be easier through their learning. And in regards to celebration, we are here to celebrate one another. Whether that be we did a great thing in our industry, whether it be we just had a really big personal achievement, buying a car, having a child, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when one of us thrives, we all kind of thrive. Can I hear it? There we go. So, without further ado, I like to start with a bit of gratitude. One, for everyone who showed up here, so thank you all for being here. The panelists, thank you for making the time to come here, to being open, to sharing your journey and any skills and tips that we can learn from you. The executive team that's all been behind the scenes and putting everything together. And also to UTSC and Dara, who's been behind us and seeing our dream and enabling us to have this space and do it here. So I'm going to also have one more recognition for our brothers and sisters of Indigenous people, and we're going to do a bit of land acknowledgement.
Hello, so my name is Keedian Stewart. I am the current partnership liaison with the UTSC Black Academic Network. We wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still a home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. Thank you.
Okay, now I have the pleasure of welcoming our founder of this network, Siobhan Riley.
Big up. All right, so I guess there's a slide that was talking. No, we're going to talk about the slide.
We can talk about the slide.
Let's go back to it, right? So invest in the next generation. What does that mean? What are we talking about?
So, in regards to investment, we have a milestone award where we gift, I don't want to say gift because these are deserving students. We grant them with $2,500, correct? Towards their education. So if they're a UTS student, they identify as Black, and we help them. And this is really a big initiative for us. We're looking to make it an endowment, so it can be something that is always going to be there, and there is funds for maybe not just one student, but maybe more than one student. So we ask anyone who can, doesn't matter how much it is, could be $1, could be $1 million, we don't know who's in the room, but to help us invest in the next generation, foster our community, and then continue to allow us to celebrate our excellence. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right.
Was there another slide about any more money?
It's the same.
Oh, okay, it's the same one. All right, no worries. So we'll get into it.
All right.
All right, thank you, Janelle. So thank you all for coming out. My name is Siobhan Riley. I am the president of the Black Alumni Network. And what we have today is we're going to be talking about soft skills with our panelists. So I'm going to introduce our panelists and then we're going to dive right into it because there's so much things to cover. I want to make sure that we all can get that proper time to talk about it. So the first person that we're going to bring up is Sharon. All right, so welcome. Have your seat, right? So she is resourceful in marketing and promotion and all, or I should say, she is resourceful in marketing and promotions, professional and with extensive experience in entertainment and hospitality, specializing in national campaigns, relationship building, and team leadership. A proud UFT at Scarborough graduate, passionate about her power of soft skills, driving collaboration and success. So she's in the right place. That makes sense. So we got that check, right? And Anasha, do we want to introduce your background in the company that you work with?
Sure. So I'm currently with Elmwood Spa. So it's one of Toronto's original spas. Been around for over 40 years. But I have a really diverse background, entertainment, restaurants, and now the wellness industry. So it's a pleasure to be here to share what I've learned, especially being in hospitality. You need to have soft skills with your guests and with your team members. So I'm happy to share what I've learned.
All right, thank you. So the next person we're going to welcome up is Donovan, the big D. So Donovan is the operation lead here at Cecile, which is the University of Toronto Scarborough Innovation Center and startup incubator that is focused on helping students and recent alums from all disciplines launch successful ideas in research, commercialization, social innovation, and business creation. So I can tell you, personally, the godfather, the big man himself, Donovan, has helped me personally with my business Norm. And, having individuals like this that take the time out of their day and the extra time that you didn't already have goes a long way because, we always have something to do. So when you find those individuals that are willing to give you that extra second, that, changes your life forever. You never know what they said that aligned with you at that right time to make you go to where you're going. So I appreciate him personally for taking that time out and being a mentor to me and helping me grow into a young black man. You see it? So big up Donovan.
Thank you, Sean.
No tears, okay?
I don't know if that's going to happen.
So I don't know if you wanted to give any thoughts about what you're doing here at Cecile?
Okay, Cecile is an accelerator incubator that is here for anyone in Scarborough that's thinking about starting up their own companies or have an idea that they want to build on. So we're here to work with you, not tell you, not push you in another direction, but get the resources around you to elevate your company and build your ideas. So as Sharon said, we helped with Norm when Norm was something that he used for himself to make his skin and his hair and everything better for him. And he had that in the lab, he tested it, he made sure it was good, and we sat down, went through steps, and now Norm is a fancy product that is selling off the shelves, and so we're happy about that. But what Cecile is built to do right now is to, like Sam Ibrahim, the person that put the 25 million in this building and towards our programming, he's looking to build the next billion-dollar company in Scarborough. And which one of you are going to jump out and do that?
So big up Sam, we have a nice space. All right, thank you for sharing. So we're going to welcome Akeem. So he's a policy advisor at the Public Safety Canada with the Federal Public Service. As a career public servant, Akeem is committed to service values, integrity, and ethics. So that's good. It's very important that we have the ethics. Now, he is the co-founder and the co-chair of the Public Safety Black Employee Network. I call it BSPN. That's fine. It sounds nice.
Yeah, that's fine.
BSPN.
PSPN,
All right.
yeah.
All right, cool. He believes in continued development of an adaptive, inclusive, and vibrant UTSC community, where he graduated here at UTSC with his honors in Bachelor's of Arts, and he went to York University to do his master's in public policy, administration, and law. As an avid volunteer, Akeem is currently the chair of the Pickering Public Library Board, and he recently coached various men's soccer teams here at UTSC. So that's where I met him. Akeem is when I was playing soccer, and I was like, all right, coach, cool. So welcome, Akeem. I'm not sure if you wanted to share anything.
Sure, yeah. So thank you for the introduction and the great remarks. I'm currently a policy advisor with public safety. One of the files I'm working on right now is public alerting. So I hope most folks that have a cell phone in the room or a TV or a radio got a testing alert today. That's sort of from my group. But we're really looking to transform what public alerting looks like in Canada, and obviously making it sustainable but also better. So that's what we're working on.
Well, thank you for the text.
Cheers.
And now we have Professor Zaki. So now y'all have to hear this now, all right? Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes, big man. So Professor Zaki is interested in how diverse communities shape and evolve environments they inhabit. He hailed from Washington, D.C., so he's coming through. And he was educated at Howard University and the University of Wisconsin, Madison. I got it right? Madison, sorry. And he is a postdoctor at the University of Arizona, Tucson, and Yale University. So, the man know him thing. All right? Now, he began his academic career at Ohio State University, conducting research on how beneficial bacteria evolve because of their relationship with their insect hosts and vice versa. His research is a multidisciplinary, relying on tools and perspectives from microbiology, evolutionary biology, ecology, and genomics to address how microbial, I'm saying that right? All right, microbial communities are driving animal development and evolution. So I'm telling you, right? All right. His work seeks to demonstrate that microbes are deeply intertwined with animal health and fitness, and that they should be regarded as collaborators. So I couldn't say it any better.
You did a great job. Thank you.
You want to talk a little bit
I'll
more?
give you a hand.
You want to talk a little bit more about what you're working on?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you again. This has been a wonderful opportunity. So I, am an immigrant to Canada from the United States, and I'm interested in how microbes are actually our friends in a lot of cases, and that helping all kinds of stakeholders to appreciate the contributions of microbes to the health and development and growth and evolutions of animals, including humans. And so I'm a professor here at University of Toronto on the Scarborough campus in the Department of Biological Sciences. Just started this past summer. So none of the undergrads that are here, or probably none of the alumni here would have ever seen me before, but if you ever want to come back and learn a little evolutionary biology and microbiology, you're more than welcome to audit my class. So.
All right, well, thank you all for being here. So we're going to get into it. So what are we going to get into? We're going to talk about soft skills. Does anybody here today know what soft skills are? Raise of hand. Come on, don't be shy. Does anyone know what soft skills are? All right, we got someone in the back.
Like interpersonal skills, like
Okay, great. So, Janelle will get one award for the person in the back there for raising their hand. No, thank you, thank you. No. Yeah. All right. So, soft skills are people skills, behavioral skills, emotional skills. They're how you show up. Now, does anybody know any examples of soft skills? Anybody want to raise their hand? All right, we got someone here. All right, what do you want to say? Give me some examples.
An example of a soft skill would be, for example, body language. How when you're situated, when you're either sitting across from somebody or sitting next to somebody, an example would be how offset you are from them, or how engaged you are with them, how connected you are, or lack thereof. That would be an example.
Got another prize.
So
Thank
bingo.
you.
Bingo. Yeah.
As you mentioned, examples are how we communicate, handle stress, how we solve problems, listen, learn, treat other people. These are what we call soft skills, how we respond to feedback. Now we're gonna ask the panelists now. We're gonna get into this. Now that y'all are paying attention, we're just gonna open the floor. Anyone can talk. And I just wanna know if you can tell us about someone at your job or previous job who did really, really well. What they did to make everyone love working with them. Like, we just want to know, like, what did you observe about that individual?
I'm happy to start.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm a graduate of the co-op program in arts management. So my first job, I worked for an independent Canadian label called Attic Records. So Maestro Fresh West, The Nylons, Weird Al Yankovic, and being a new grad, I really did not know anybody in the industry or anything about the music industry. But my manager at the time, one of the mandatories, and why I have so much respect for him, is that one of the key things I had to do on a weekly basis was take somebody out for lunch. So it had nothing to do with actually doing the job. It was all about building relationships. So this meant that I would be taking out, 1 week it'd be a DJ, it could be a music director, it could be a music journalist. So he helped me build my network. Build my network to the extent where it helped me get my next job, where it helped me make friends who, my maid of honor. So the networks I made through that first job, taking people out for lunch on a weekly basis, carried me through my entire career, professionally and personally. So I think I respect him for that because he kind of gave me the foundation. That's not about what you do, but how you do it, how you interact with people, how you can connect with them. And it made a really big difference for me.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to chime in?
Sure, I can go. So in my world, the one thing I would say for successful folks is really adaptability. So oftentimes, folks in policy, they might not even know a lot about, say, a specific area. So some years ago, I'll give you an example. I was working at Transport Canada, and not a lot of people, I'm sure, perhaps in this room, know that Transport owns a lot of property in the GTA, particularly port properties, you would think. But for example, just sort of east of us in Pickering, the government expropriated over 18,000 acres of land in the 70s to build the GTA's second airport. Because they anticipated that the GTA would grow at such a pace that it obviously is still growing. And when I was working at Transport, my job was divesting land, so getting rid of poor properties. So we looked at that land, and in the course of, I'm by no means a real estate person or understand real property in the sense that a bunch of the people around me were, but I was adaptable in the sense that, okay, we're gonna take this part of land, and we were able to sort of transfer 10,000 acres of that land to Parks Canada, which is now the Rouge National Urban Park. So when I talk about adaptability, it's kind of like that kind of world where it's like you're able to see a problem, adapt your skill set to that environment, and then sort of come up with, perhaps interesting solutions. So there's still 8,000 acres out there that the government owns. It's hard to say what will happen. I know that successive governments have sort of said, yes, there's going to be an airport. No, there's not going to be an airport. And obviously, there's various lobbying that goes on in that regard. But just kind of an indication to show you that, like, for me, for example, it was just like stepping in at the right point in time and being able to sort of use my skill set, which is understanding, like, things at 30,000 feet, to really impact some change. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought I would add that.
Anybody else? We're all here just to talk. You don't have to worry about them. We're just talking. Is it any person come across in your life that?
So I would say that a few people that really stood out that I've met throughout my career, I think that had skills that are very relevant, not only to this forum, but also to their success, had the ability to be active listeners. And that might seem kind of like an obvious thing to just listen, but there's certainly differences between active and passive listening. Passive listening is, making the motions, but maybe not actually being able to reflect back. Whereas the active listening not only engages the reflection, but then also being able to pull out, sort of prompts and ideas from the person that you're asking questions of. To help them to even tell their story better, right? So building sort of a collaborative conversation rather than, I'm just waiting for my turn to talk, right? And so several people that I had the pleasure of working with and who were mentors to me demonstrated that. And I would say that, some great examples of active listeners would be, some of the, really good interviewers that you might find on like the CBC or in the States like NPR. There's one person I'm thinking of, Terry Gross, who's on the show called Fresh Air. Extremely active, great active listener. So much so that Questlove, some of y'all may be familiar with Questlove, the drummer from The Roots, he talks about how whenever he now talks to people, he mimics many of her skills in being an active listener. So I would say that's something we all can learn how to do, is how to quiet down, listen, and then be able to be an active listener in the conversation.
Thank you. Anything else coming up?
Yeah, I would say when I worked for McKinsey Financial Corporation, our leadership team were like individuals that you want to mimic. Like, for example, the vice president or the president of marketing, he was in at 7:30 every morning, and he'd be going to events in the evening to procure more clients. And you're talking about $50 million, $100 million men. And you're like wondering why you're getting out of bed to go do something like this. They're driven by different things, right? So I want to let you know, champions are what you search for. And once you can learn from a champion within the group, and my champion was the CFO, I met him by accident or alignment, right? We might say, the stars were aligned or what have you, but he gave me this one statement I'm going to give you to start the evening, and that's, in order to really be successful, you have to take care of yourself first, right? It was at a time where I had like 3 major decisions to make, whether I wanted to work for McKinsey Corporation. I had this, the actual, anyways, I had the script for How Stella Got Her Groove Back to be Taye Diggs' role. And then I also had the Raptors offer me community relations opportunity. So he was paramount for a 24-year-old kid or 26-year-old kid to sit down with, and he listened, active listening, and he sort of put it out there for me to understand, right? Within 3 years, I bought my first house. And this is from a kid that was growing up in the hood. I didn't know what he knew, but what he knew it was the gift and the impartment, right? So when you say, I'm spending time with you, that's the only thing I can do now, because you can't thank a guy that has millions and millions of dollars in its past. So you can only put it forward, right?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything coming up for anybody else that they wanted to touch on before we move on?
Just,
No, you go ahead.
sorry, I just want to elaborate on the champion. I totally agree with you. And to me, like my definition of a champion when I think of soft skills is somebody who, even though they're making these $1 million deals, they treat everyone with the same kind of respect, the same kind of curiosity, and trying to create those authentic moments, because that's the only thing you can do. It's too hard to be somebody who you're not. And that's my biggest lesson that I've taken with my career is like, you can only be who you are. And it doesn't matter if you have completely different backgrounds. I know nothing about science, but I have a fascinating conversation about spas. So we all have something that you connect with somebody to create that memorable moment for yourself that will carry you through dealing with difficult conversations, building a stronger team. And I think that's really the foundation of business. And as you grow your career and you're trying to find an opportunity, you know, reach out your network, talk to people. Even if it doesn't work now, it's so hard to find good people. You make a great impression, they will remember you when that next opportunity comes up.
Thank you. Anybody else wanted to share?
Yeah, I was just gonna add briefly that, so I know I know the term of or the term of art is soft skills, but in some sectors the idea of it being a soft skill puts it in sort of contrast with like quote unquote hard skills, and maybe there's even a hierarchy that maybe places one set of skills over the other, and I would sort of disabuse people of that, because so, you know, as an evolutionary biologist, one of the things that, you know, that's very big in our field is behavior, right? And these behaviors can be very consequential to the survival of a species, right? So if we think about, you know, for example, you know, if you go on YouTube and you just look up birds of paradise, you know, some of the dances and the plumage that you might see in like a peacock, some of these behaviors are massively consequential as to whether or not they'll get to mate, whether or not they'll survive to the next day. And so let's just consider behaviors not being just sort of an arbitrary sort of a sideshow to one's ability to maybe pipette something or to, you know, run an Excel spreadsheet, but that these behaviors can mean, you know, whether or not you wake up tomorrow in a house of your own, or if you're out, you know, maybe looking for another job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know. You know, we want to pass it on to the audience, right? So we got a question.
Yeah.
So what have you gotten from what I've been sharing so far? Anybody want to share what they have gotten so far about soft skills that have served someone? All right, yeah.
I really like what was just said in terms of looking at soft skills differently. So how we might find that, you know, someone who speaks in a softer tone versus someone who might be a little bit louder. I mean, I know especially for a lot of Black women in the workplace that that's very villainizing, but it's also very powerful in being able to take up space in a room where you say, no, I'm here because I'm very skilled at what I do, I'm smart, I'm capable, and I'm demanding that space, and that doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form that I'm aggressive. It means that I'm speaking professionally and personally about what I do, and that in itself is a very good skill. And so I really like the framing of soft skills can be many things to many people, and what we take to be I think a very, very colonial take of what soft skills are is actually very transferable, I think, for us as Black people, and in terms of the way that we also have to code switch in certain situations. So I really like that framing.
All right, thank you. Gifter. All right, let's go. So let's go back into the panel. Now that we talked about stories of situations that have served someone, do we have any stories of a situation where we come across someone who didn't last long, and what did they do to make things hard for them in that space? Anybody want to share?
Didn't last long,
Yeah.
as in an environment?
Yeah, stories of you seeing someone that, based on their behavior, they didn't last long in that environment.
So I'll give you a quick one. and then you guys can take it from there. So, prolific basketball player, had a great career in collegiate, came back to Toronto, and I had an opportunity to put him on at Mackenzie. And so you think just going up to the boardroom and sitting around and just looking around like you can't believe you're here is something. It turned out to be the detriment of his interview, because he ended up spinning around in the boardroom on the chairs, looking around like, I'm here, right? And somebody else would take it as that he's like a kid in a candy store, right? And then scores, you know, on the entry tests and stuff like that, didn't qualify. His credentials were out the roof when it came to sports and, you know, charisma, everything, right? But when you're actually in a corporate environment and you talk about code switching, it's almost paramount when you're in that group as the first or one of the first, right? So if it was anybody else, I don't know whether they'd look at it with such scrutiny. So you really have to watch your environment, and it's not code switch. You have to protect yourself. If you really want to, you know, insert yourself and be the first or be that person, you have to know your environment and adapt to the environment for that time until you can spread your wings. Because a simple thing like that, like literally what I'm talking to you about, being in a boardroom by yourself and, you know, just turning around in a circle to, you know, check out the space, and you're like feeling like, wow, I got this opportunity. And somebody, like a secretary or somebody's watching you and gives that feedback to the interviewer, you lose the job, you know? And you don't even know how you lose the job. But it was fed back to me after the whole situation because I put him there. I helped get him there, right? So that's just an environment thing. And just to let you know, that's soft skills, right? Know where you are and that people are watching you constantly, even when there's nobody there, right?
Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in on that?
I can jump in.
Yeah.
So I can't think of a particular person, but I can think of situations. I feel like we tend to lose our soft skills under stress. So I feel like there needs to be some kind of consistency. It's like a muscle that you have to train, because I can think of lots of, you know, senior managers, VPs who are the most charming person under great circumstances when things are going well. But when there's a problem and they're extremely stressed, they no longer use those soft skills. They're dictating what needs to be done. They're not looking at the relationships and seeing the strength of their team and how they can overcome this issue. So I do encourage you that, you know, it's easy to kind of forget the soft skills when you have a deadline and there's a lot of pressure on you, but really it's all about the consistency and building the relationships that will kind of help bridge that gap for you when you need it most.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll jump in as well. It's a very good question. Thank you for it. In regards to sort of seeing people that I guess haven't lasted long, in my world, a lot of it is about authenticity. So I know the buzzword these days and everything that's, you know, artificial intelligence, this and that, but a mentor of mine at Public Safety often talks about authentic intelligence, and the fact that, like, you can always sort of read through someone's resume or someone's CV sometimes, particularly when you know, there's an emergency. So when I started with Public Safety, I was actually working in crime prevention, which is obviously a very, you know, high stakes environment. And then COVID came along, and I started working obviously in a very, very high stakes environment where no one knew what was going on. And very quickly, the people who I saw sort of, you know, either survive or not survive were those that were coming into the environment sort of with an open heart, an open mind, but also willing to sort of engage with what we all didn't know, right? So I think to your question, it's really about trying to be authentic, always sort of, you know, honing in on your skill set, but also who you are, and giving that to, you know, whatever opportunity it is that you are endeavoring on.
Okay. Anybody else that to add?
Yeah, so I also don't have a particular person in mind that, you know, you all would know these people anyway, but
They're not going to come for you, you know?
They might, you never know.
I don't know if they can get across the border.
That's true.
No, but so one of the things that well, I was told when I first started my position at Ohio State, when we got ready to do our examinations for students that were going to either propose their thesis topic or defend their PhD or their master's degree, is that, you know, we would ask them a series of questions about usually their topic or their research. And the idea was the questioning should continue to sort of like open up further and further and push the boundaries of the student's knowledge, right? And so at some point, our questions should be so far afield from that student's center of knowledge that they should have to say, I don't know, right? And so that doesn't mean that they fail at all. In fact, usually if they make it past about, you know, the halfway mark in the questioning, they pass, right? But you keep asking the questions to sort of not only get a sense of the breadth of understanding of the student, but you also want to find out if they will BS you, right? Because there is an ethical component to what we're trying to sort of, you know, not only encourage in the students, but then to also teach them that you are going to sometimes not know something, right? And in academia, we should be stewards of high quality information. And if we are going to open our mouths, we should be telling the truth. And if we don't know something, we should say, we don't know. And have the confidence to say that. And that's what the degrees should allow us to do that. And so one thing that sank students consistently was when they started to BS. Now, if they would BS and continue when it was clear that we were like, are you sure? Word. Yeah. Right? And I'm sure you've seen this in, you know, in your line of work in McKinsey and you know, and especially in public safety.
Yeah.
You know, someone's giving a talk. It may be high stakes for that. It's probably high stakes for them. Maybe for other people in the room, are like, no, it's all good. But you start seeing that, you know, they're really kind of like winging it, you know, and people start to say, you sure about that? Do you really want to keep going down this path? You don't have to. That was a thing that consistently sank students. And so, you know, keep that in mind, right? You know, sometimes it's okay to just say, I don't know. In fact, saying I don't know, especially after great preparation, sends the signal that you are someone who is ethical as well as knowledgeable.
Thank you. Anybody else want to add on to that? That's it? All right. I don't know. All right. Great. All right. So let's pass it on to the audience. So, can anybody say anything that they found in common? Oh yeah, we got no wasting time. All right. Love it.
I have more of a question.
Sure.
Since you're on the topic of things people have done that ruined their career, and she said something about how black people, especially black women, have faced certain stereotypes as coming off across as being aggressive, being too much. And he said something about being authentically yourself. And then he's also said something about conforming and learning to read the room to adapt and stuff. So my question is, what's the balance between being authentically yourself and conforming? And also, have you been in a position where you had to conform because when you were being yourself, you were perfect? People basically just so you were being so much and
Yeah.
so aggressive, and how did you navigate that?
It's a yes.
All right, so we got a gifter first. Thank
Yeah,
you for
she
bringing on the
definitely
question
go
and
for it.
talking.
Want me? Okay.
And then I'll
Anybody
I'll
want
top
to
up
take
your-
on that question?
Yeah, I can take.
Everybody can take it.
Yeah. Go for it. Go for it.
We're up
You
here.
next.
You want me to
Go for
Okay,
it.
I'll
That's
give
a
it a
great
go,
question.
and then I'll turn it over. I think it's an excellent question, and I even agree with the sentiment. Right, talked about sort of the Black Employee Network, and I'll be very honest. Like my career in itself, when I started in government, it was like be a manager, be a team leader. Go and sort of be an executive, right, was sort of the goal and even the path that I was on. And my career has been limited by being authentic. And the reason I'll say it is partially, right, the elephant in the room is we are Black people. So there is a reality there that you mentioned, when we do, perhaps state our opinion or perhaps disagreement with certain things, right? The consequences are often taken against us. But I personally, I'll tell any, person who's getting into public service or any person who, like, you gotta be yourself. You have to stand by your roots. Like for me, I'm like born and raised like just north of here in what we call a priority neighborhood, Malvern. So even when I was asked to be on this panel, I was like, do I have soft skills? Because I know growing up, like, no, and I'm being real. I know growing up, right? It was all hard, right? Like the environment we grew up in was hard. As folks would know, Malvern in the 90s was a very, it was a hard neighborhood, right? So you had to sort of have those hard skills to sort of get through it. But at the same time, I will say, my soft skills, even not knowing them, got me through certain environments, right? Because I was able to help certain kids. So I had a bright mind. So I was able to help kids that were maybe on the wrong side of the tracks to get through certain things. And they looked out for me, right? So I would say you always have to be yourself. When it comes to public service, there's not many rooms that look like myself. The policy world does not look like us. The executive world still does not look like us in public service, unfortunately. And those are barriers that we are breaking down from those that have been around, so that folks can be themselves in those spaces, and folks can have, opinions that might differ from, say, the masses to a certain degree, right? So that's my opinion. That's me being real, but I'll turn it over for others.
No, I totally agree with you. You have to be authentic, but I think you also have to read the room.
Yep.
I think every situation is different. If it feels like it's a no-win situation, sometimes you gotta like stand down. But I feel like if it's one-on-one and you're confident in what you have to say and what's happening, then you need to be your authentic self. I think you need to be, thoughtful in what you say. You can't be emotional, meaning everything has to be based in facts. So I say that because I work with a lot of operators. I'm marketing, they're operators. And I feel like they have a different language. So when you work with cross-functional teams, they use different, say, metrics, data points to prove a point. So you have to understand what's important to your colleagues, what will convince them, and that's how you need to kind of build your case and what you get your point across. For my personality type, like I'm more comfortable one-on-one. So, if it happens, I'll take the person aside and then I'll have that discussion. Because for me, it's not about like winning points, saying, hey, I was right, you were wrong with the public audience, because sometimes it just kind of escalates the situation. It's kind of almost a no-win. So I think you have to, like I said, read the room, have that one-on-one conversation to figure out, how to get your point across.
Yeah, I just started thinking about bacteria. And the reason why is because, as I said earlier, and I was wonderfully introduced as being a microbiologist and evolutionary biologist, and I study microbiomes, which are sort of assemblages of bacteria, different species of bacteria that are all kind of mixed together, interacting, and they're in our guts. We just fed them some really wonderful jerk chicken and barbecue fry. I'd never heard that term before. But anyway, within all of that, all those different bacteria, there's lots of diversity, right? And so many of those bacteria can do a lot of the same things. In fact, there's an ecological term called functional redundancy, which essentially says that you can have very different things that can do the same task, that are living, sort of cohabitating, right? And so that comes to mind because when it comes to diversity, one of the reasons why it's good to have a very diverse community is because you oftentimes can have very different individuals with overlapping skills. And they can have unique skills too. So when conditions change around that community, someone can maybe step up under the new conditions where others may not have been able to shine under those conditions, but they did shine under prior conditions, right? So I use that as an analogy to say that, you can show up, however way, makes sense to you and feels right. But ultimately, whatever community that you're going to be entering into, be it an occupational community, a social community, sports, whatever it might be, you are there to do something that was that brought you into that particular space. And so it kind of dovetails with what you were saying earlier about, it comes down to like, what's the job that we're here to do? And I think the ability to be able to demonstrate your ability to perform, it just then highlights all of the other things that maybe makes you unique in those conditions, and then maybe even allows you to shine for the group when conditions maybe change in ways that they didn't even anticipate prior.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
anything else?
Yeah, so one of the points, and I really appreciate your point about that, being in different environments and redundancy, and also the opportunity to show your own skill set when things change. And I agree with everybody on the panel with what they said. I just want to address a few things that you spoke about. And my thing was, at age 14, mind you, coming to Canada was the first issue, right? I'll just tell you that right now. In Jamaica, I didn't know, like, there was black and white. As a youth, I didn't know. Because my grandfather looks like Colonel Sanders, right? And some of my aunties look blonde hair and whatever, right? And I have also, my grandmother's dark, strong woman, right? So that whole structure happens here. And when you're 5 and they're playing in your hair and goes, what this spongy thing, right? You get it embedded that you're different. And the first time you're called a nigger, that word there, these young guys now that come and talk and spit it around, they don't understand the pain. Like, every day going to school, I was one of 4 black guys in downtown Toronto, Lansdowne, and Dundas area that had to get to school for 4 to 6 blocks away. Every day there's a fight or you buck. So your soft skills have to grow real quick, but then you don't even know you have them.
Right.
Right? So let's go back to now age 14. You're 14 years old and you're at McDonald's and your friends now come in and start kicking over drinks, dashing garbage all over the place. So I quickly learned, right? Quickly learned this one thing that I'm going to share with you, and that is a professional does not act the way they feel. They act the way they should. Right? If you bury that in the back of your head, when stress comes to play, you have your decisions. You can be professional or you don't have to be. Right? And there's times where I tell you, I was not a professional. And there's times where I tell you, I stood firm as a professional. And integrity, that's what you got to live on. Because if you can't stand on the integrity that he talked about, you can't stand at all, especially in very stressful situations. And I'll just say one or two in general. When it deals with money, I used to be assistant bank manager at CIBC. And my friends used to say, D, yeah, 800,000 in the bag, why don't you just carry it and go? And for the rest of your life, you're doing this? 800,000? I would have made over that for my lifetime, right? So just give you that. Then the other thing would be now the integrity on the side of, okay, things happen, everybody's going to be looking for a scapegoat. And if you're not conforming in that bacterial realm there, and you are that alien bacteria or whatever you are in position now to be that goat. But if you stand on integrity, people look over you and they don't point to you, right? I tell you, after a great stint at the financial organization, there was multiple opportunities where fraud started going. I became the person that knew that balance, right? Where I knew how to do things like everybody else, but I was in a different environment in banking before I came to investments.
Yeah.
So I can see a certain level of fraud before it even happens. So now I'm a supervisor, and there are several tiers above me that I'm saying, I'm not doing this. I'm not having my 14 staff members do this. If you want to do this, you can do it. Oh, but like he's bringing in millions and millions of dollars. That same scenario brought me up the chain and put it into the head person of that division. They wouldn't want to sign it. So why the hell am I signing it? Integrity. So I don't care if I'm an angry black man, a 6'4", 6'5", come in the room and saying, I'm not going to sign this, because integrity rules everything, right? So that scenario came to me 4 or 5 years later, and a lawyer sitting in my office at another organization talking to me about the day. And if I didn't document that day the way I documented that day, that lawyer would have been looking for a scapegoat. And I'm not a ram goat, I'm a man, right? And by going to court and testifying on that, I saved a 78-year-old man literally coming to court for 9 months to save his grandkids, great-great-grandkids, money of over $300,000. You understand? So sometimes you can't see what you're gonna do right away. You lose opportunities because of it. But stand. He said integrity. I stand by that. And yeah, angry black woman, angry black man, it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day if you have your integrity. You understand? So again, read the room.
100%.
There's some fights that you don't need to fight, right?
Yeah.
Just take the blind, right? But honestly, if you don't have integrity, you can't live the rest of your life feeling good about yourself, right?
Anybody want to talk about, like, on top of that, anything else there to share? Okay. All right, hopefully you get the answer. Great. So my last question is, as somebody new in a work environment, when you talk about reading the room, understanding what's going on, like, what would you say is a skill for you to understand how that work environment operates? If that makes sense. Is that question clear?
Yeah.
All right. Anybody want to share?
I'll share.
Okay.
So I find, like, for my team, I always encourage them to make allies. We don't need too insular. Like, we're a marketing team, we talk every day, but cross-function. Find somebody who works in guest services, who works in spa operations, or whatever department, but you need to have allies throughout the organization, because they will share their perspective. And it doesn't have to be a formal meeting, but get to know them. When you have lunch, they'll talk about their day. When they do that, you get a better sense, an authentic sense, where they're not guarded, how their team works, what are the pain points. That gives you better knowledge to do your job, to be of service to the organization. So it seems very subtle, but it's about, like, making friends at work, but friends at work in different departments. you know, I think that's really key, especially when you start a new job, because you want to understand the business, and if you want to grow, it helps you understand the organization as a whole. So I think that's very key.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to share on that?
Sure, I can go. So as a person sort of entering a job, or how I would encourage folks, I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the active listening, right? I think you want to go into that environment and really be a sponge, per se, really take in, you want to obviously learn from those that have been around you, what has gone wrong, what are the best practices, the good, the bad, and the ugly, of course. But then also, as we were talking about just now, what do you bring to the table? You know, obviously you're there for a reason. You might have, you know, an educational background. You might have experience in some other crisis, for example. I know I gave an example earlier about, you know, working in a field that like I had no idea about, but I've mentioned COVID. We respond to that. Wildfires in the last few years have been environments where nobody's known that, you know, the country that we live in, that's so cold sometimes, that wildfires last year just went right through the season. And we had students that started with us during that period of time that would come from an environment where, you know, they're in emergency management schools and they're like real hardcore practitioners. But what they may not have brought to the table is the experience in terms of, you know, responding to other emergencies, right? So they're coming in saying like, oh, you know, we've got all this, you know, technical knowledge on the file, but they haven't lived the rest of the experience that, you know, other Canadians have. Or for example, when you look at a lot of these emergencies, they impact certain communities, one being Indigenous communities. So I'm glad obviously we had a you know, a land acknowledgement, but when you look at any natural disaster in Canada, they impact those communities much more than the rest of the population. So what the technical knowledge would say is, okay, you know, it's a wildfire. It could be, you know, in downtown Toronto, for example. How do we deal with a wildfire? But do you need to actually understand the community? Do you need to go to that community? Do you need to have, like Sharon was talking about, those relationships where you are able to go reach out to that community, understand exactly how it impacts them, and understand what they would look for in a solution. I think that those things, yes, they do come with experience, but they also come with, I guess, sort of, for lack of better words, like a really open mind when it comes to understanding what those solutions are. That can only come from understanding that community and working with them.
Thank you. Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would add to that, because I think these have been excellent, is certainly cross-feed, right? I think that that's one thing that one can do. So within my field, it can be very highly technical, really focused on sort of like, you know, biology and sort of the lab work and all that. But, you know, I try to read about another discipline, you know, sociology, political science, English, you know, the German existentialist, whatever it might be, right? You know, so try to, like, you know, even while you're like laser focus on whatever it is your, you know, your occupation of choice, still make time to go learn about other fields too. Because I think that, you know, being able to have creativity, right, is going to be one of those skills that certainly surpasses any kind of artificial intelligence tools or, you know, job replacements that might happen around that. The ability to be creative and to think flexibly on your feet, or, you know, while sitting in a chair, I think it's really important. And so cross-feeding provides you an opportunity to be challenged intellectually as you're, you know, again, focused on whatever your particular discipline is.
Thank you. Anybody else want to share on that?
Yeah, I would piggyback on yours as well. We call that cross-pollination on teams, right? So again, at the investment company, when RSP season's done, right, we might have hired 103 people to run RSP season, but there's probably going to be maybe 10 to 15, 20 people staying after, right? So when you look at an environment and you want to survive in an environment, you have to be cross-pollinating, right? You have to understand if you're processing one transaction that's just address changes, and the hardest transaction is, say, a transfer, an exchange of a mutual fund in your RSP over. That's the hardest transaction. If you're just coming into the company, you want to sit beside that person that knows the hardest transaction so that you can be their backup if they slip, because everybody else that's just coasting and, oh, I'm just doing my, my job and thing, they're going to be gone. So the first time that they asked us as supervisors to downsize our teams, I cross-pollinated everybody on my team. So you have 2 or 3 or 4 skills. If there's 7 skills there, if you can get up to 4 skills, it's hard to move you, right? But if you're the one that's just, this is all I want to do, and we can do it fast, I'm good. No worry about me. Me good. No, you're not, right? You're the first one to go, right? So the way we populate things in like this panel, right, today, talking to you about the different things that could help you along and survival through the process. I'll tell you, to be quite honest, like from the day I left Acadia University, the first thing that was my mission to come to Toronto is teach black people how to network. That's the first thing. Because I'm a downtown kid. I grew up or the heavy hip hop, right? And that music must be loud. But at Acadia, when I went to parties, I go, these people are dry. I can't even hear the music. But you know what? I learned something that before January done, they had a job. And me, as cool as I am as a basketball player and everything, I got the swag, I'm going back home. I reach home late April, maybe get a job by June, and then have to go back to school early August. So my money ain't up. As April done, the last exam, the men are making money. And they make money like, hey, but, my dad has a farm. He's going to need some help on the farm. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we can do that. Oh, we got a roof to build. Could you help us out with that? Oh, yeah, we got that. But I have to go now back to the cool Toronto, meet my family, send out a bunch of resumes, and hope that something will land, right? And these guys drinking beer in December are working out their plan for April. So when I came back here, the first thing I did was start the dynamic networking function, and that was to get black people to talk to black people and network black people. And that was 1991, right? So as you guys stay in the room today, if you're not networked, LinkedIn, what's LinkedIn? I thought I was LinkedIn before LinkedIn. And I'm looking at LinkedIn, people are hitting me up left, right, and saying, I don't know them. And they're asking me like for contracts and all this, right? So authentic, we talked about authentic connections.
Yep.
And linking those authentic connections to real outcomes. And they don't have to look like you. The guy that swang, the first person that gave me opportunity was a principal, and I was in grade 4. He goes, if you get 1 first place in track and field, I'll take you to McDonald's. I said, McDonald's? I didn't even see McDonald's as a kid because my parents couldn't afford it. I was like, I brought him back 3 first place and 2 second place. And he goes, wow, right? So that was a white principal. And you can check on the people as you go through, and more I see my basketball coach that, bust me, he was a white coach. right? I went to Acadia, learned from a bunch of white kids, right? I came out Acadia when I was a Raptor ambassador, ran into Jim Hunter, which is a white CEO. He introduced me to the white founder of the biggest corporation in Canada independently, Mackenzie Financial. And he took me in his Toyota Corolla. Let me just state that. He owns 1,000 hectares of land in Prince Edward County. Driving from there to downtown Toronto in a Toyota Corolla brought me to events to write $25,000 check to the youth mission at Yonge Street Mission to teach me how to fundraise. You understand? Where we barely have $25,000 in a bank account and want a Benz. He has his Benz, he has all that, but he ain't driving it to work. You understand? So these are some of the things that you can learn from without actually, having people tell you, right? And I'm happy to have you guys here in the Cecile space, because what we learned today is amazing. What I learned from you and microbes.
We'll
and
talk.
all
We'll
that.
talk. No.
I need all that. I need all that.
We're
as
definitely
well.
gonna have coffee.
Yeah,
I want to grab some coffee. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. Just want to bring it to the audience. I just want to ask a couple questions. If anyone can tell me one soft skill that you realize you need to work on after hearing this panel. Anybody want to share? Nobody have any soft skills they want to work on? All right. Yeah, go for it.
I guess as far as like an elaborate on more, like I guess having more coffee chats with people. I just started at the UTSC down to public service. I'm still trying to get a better sense of like the environment. Also really love your question because I don't know what I'm doing, but still here, hoping that they keep me. But yeah, I think kind of like getting to my coworkers, like you said, and kind of building that network. So I guess the way that I'm learning the public service works is that you move into like a million different ministries until you get something from it. So
All right. Thank you for sharing. And does anybody can share on one thing that you've heard tonight that you wish someone told you earlier in your career? Anybody have any feedback on that? One thing you've heard today, yeah?
Maybe not something I heard, but one thing I'm taking back from this is just being more grounded in my soft skills. Because I think a lot of us growing up too were told like it doesn't matter or it's not important as the quote unquote hard skills. But the older we get, the more I realize that it actually is one of the only things that matters. So yeah, just being more grounded in the ability to use it and to express these skills freely.
Okay, thank you for sharing. And the last question I'm asking is, did you hear anything tonight that hit you hard? And you're like, yeah, Katie? All right.
So, I think Donovan, when you said, I typed it out, as a professional, don't act based on how you feel, act based on how you should. I think a lot of times, like my personality, I'm known to show my feelings. So if I'm pissed, I'm pissed. So I think now that I want to eventually go into management and build my skills, I have to really learn to just act as I should, not how I feel. So I think that one really stood out to me today.
All right, well, thank you for sharing. I just want to close up. Donovan, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, Fenella, I'm not going to let her leave here without dropping knowledge on you. And first of all, it's going to be embarrassing for her a little bit, but if you guys don't know and that you are impacted and your families were impacted by that young woman right here. So soft skills is that's her thing. You got to look up her Instagram and everything and get some soft skills from her. But I just want to just acknowledge the fact that Fenella Bruce here was the one that was writing news for City TV, CTV, producing news for all of us to digest and keeping literally comments of that black person out of the news, as opposed to in the 70s, oh, another black man or Jamaican man, he could have been from any single island. That's how they ID'd it. So I wanted to acknowledge that first, but give us Fenella, one of the things that you would deem as a great soft skill to have, besides conciseness? Because
well, definitely for me, as a producer, and working in very stressful, high-stress environments, and definitely at the beginning of my career, I was the only Black person in the room, male, female. I was the only one. And so it was I would say definitely learning how to be calm under pressure, to know how to speak with people. What distinguished me from other producers was that I respected people's opinions and I let people voice them, right? And I valued them, and you know, I would incorporate them in whatever we were doing, what show we were doing. And so one of the things I talk about is how important your reputation is and how it follows you wherever you go. And so there was definitely, well, there's 2 times in my career, this media, it's showing how it is now, well, it's the result of how it is now, is that I was laid off twice in my career. And the first time I was laid off, and it was a shock to my system, but I was laid off for exactly 2 weeks. I did not send out a resume. I was offered 2 jobs, one at CDC, one at CTV Canada, your morning producer position, which I took. And it was based on people hearing that I was out of a job, they had worked with me, I was a solid producer, get her. And so, and the second time that I was was laid off, which was kind of funny, I was laid off by CTV, and then they hired me back, which was kind of weird. But both of those times, right, it was interesting because when I was laid off the first time, that year, I made the most money because I had a severance package and then I had a job. So it worked out really well for me. And then the second time with CTV, I had a severance package that it was a bizarre deal that I worked out, but they put on hold until I decided to quit a year later to start my own business, and then it started again. So I look at those situations where I thought they were the worst things for me possible, right? I was devastated. I had a mortgage, I had kids, etc. But they turned out to be the best things for me, right? And what helped me through it was definitely my network, definitely my relationships with people within the industry, and it is a small industry. And now in my own business, which I run a media consulting business, the reason, and people, how come you're so successful, is because those same relationships that I built over those 25 years is why people respond to my emails, respond to my calls, know that if I'm pitching something, because I was a producer, I'm not pitching them BS. Like, I know what I'm talking about. This is a good story. She knows how to put it together, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say, like, you never, one of the things, you never know who's watching. You never know who is who. I'll end with one quick story. I was working as a producer for Toronto One, which is no longer here, but I had a story that I was doing. I was a field producing, and it was a story I was doing about speed bumps in the bridle path. So some seniors were upset about it because ambulances weren't able to go through to Sunnybrook because of the bumps, and they were concerned, obviously, because if there's an emergency, they have to take a longer route, and it could be fatal. So I was interviewing this elderly man who was like, sort of spearheading the charge on the whole thing, and I had the camera person, and we were talking to him in his car. We were trying to get that whole sort of authentic sort of discussion, and as old people are, he was very long-winded, and of course he had like a box of documents, and he wanted to show me everything, and like this stuff was never going to make the story, right? But I listened to him because he, wanted to get this out, and somebody was listening. So I patiently listened to him, and I had the camera guy shoot some things, et cetera, et cetera. And a couple weeks later, the president of, at the time, Barb Williams of Toronto, called me up into her office. And she said, I got a really nice email from a friend of mine. And she said, you interviewed her father, and you took your time with him, and he was so appreciative that you listened to him so he could tell his story and get his story out. No way would I have known that there was any connection or relationship. And I wouldn't have acted any differently. But I'm saying that you don't know who knows who, right? And so you always have to act professionally, very key, right? And have that integrity. And I'll just leave it there.
Thank you. So in closing, I want to remind you all that hard skills get you the job, but soft skills get you promoted, okay? So, that's it. That's all we have for today. Hopefully you can network with each other, build on soft skills. If there's one thing that I want you to leave away with is what soft skill you could work on. If not today, going into 2026, and then just keep working on it, all right? Thank you for your time. Hopefully there's food left. So have some more food, chat, build on those soft skills, and thank you all for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we have the gifts for the panelists, so you know. You're not left.
Yeah.
You don't have any gifts.
Oh, okay.
So much, yes.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you so much. Powerful.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
No need for this.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. That's it.
Oh boy.
Thank you.
Made it.
Hey,
Pleasure meeting you.
No, my pleasure. It's my pleasure.